Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Furkhan Dandia and I'm a therapist. Today, I would like to talk about something I explored during the month of Ramadan and the whole notion of adversity and how we actually find faith when it comes to adversity. And this is something I've spent the past several years navigating, especially with different obstacles in my life. In all honesty, the challenging situations have been brutal at the moment. And as much as I felt that I may not make it through at times, I have continued to move forward with significant help. While it may sound cliche, taking it one day at a time has been helpful in navigating life's difficulties. I've also maintained that there are people who have and continue to go through far more complex situations. I don't think we need to look too far to see how that might be playing out in today's world, especially with our Muslim Ummah. However, I also do not deny myself the emotions that come with the human experience. I've been able to hold space for myself and be mindful of not complaining too much, but finding the right balance of venting when appropriate and experiencing all the emotions, such as anger, fear, pain, and shame. I share all this because I've observed that people feel alone in the struggle. They often will take the incorrect stoic approach or crumble under the pressure of the sacrifice these things require. Not all of us are ready or willing to pay the cost of the necessary sacrifice, but that can change with time. Unfortunately, some people end up deceiving themselves and genuinely believe they are making the appropriate sacrifice, but then feel a sense of resentment for not pulling through. Finding meaning in trials and tribulations is profound, and at the deepest level, one cannot navigate these situations without faith. I often think about something that Mike Tyson said, where he stated, "Without a test, there's no testimony." And the testimony here is a more profound faith and belief that if one makes the necessary sacrifice, one will gain something meaningful. However, people often underestimate who they become due to the test. One undergoes a powerful transformation, and the same individual continues to build resilience as the tests progressively get more challenging. The saying, "the top of one mountain is the bottom of another," is motivational. Still, one cannot grasp the essence unless one has climbed a mountain, literally and figuratively. But why do some people choose the proper sacrifice and others do not? It is mere randomness and chaos, or is there a temperamental aspect to it that one inherits? I reflect on my journey, and I feel that I had resilience role model for me growing up, watching my parents leave their country of origin and come to a foreign land in pursuit of a promise. That promise being a better life, but my parents were lost in the desert, so to speak, for they were away from their families, struggling to speak a language they did not learn from childhood, and trying to fit into a culture that was not theirs. As the eldest child, something stuck with me. It is also easy to be misled and worship the golden calf, metaphorically speaking, when lost in the desert and as patience can wear thin, and that is something looking back I can see in my own parents. On the flip side, one can also fall into a sense of entitlement, which does away with the proper sacrifice. I've had moments of entitlement, especially after graduating with a degree in engineering. I felt entitled for a decade between the ages of 25 and 35. I was deluded that I had made all the sacrifices I needed to make, and things would happen for me as I had envisioned them. Things were happening for me, but my perspective needed to shift. At 35, feeling shame and resentful for going through a tumultuous marriage and fighting the dragon that is family law, I was shaking my fist at God. In my naivety, I felt God owed me for my low-level sacrifices. In such moments, one can even fantasize about going back to the life of oppression, for it feels familiar and not as anxiety-provoking given the limited number of choices available. But I had it all wrong. And as I sat in my misery of the hedonistic puddle that I had become, something inside me wanted to slap me around to hear the voice of conscience. I finally felt a deep calling to live a life of responsibility to myself. As much as I thought about my purpose in life, I was not living by the sacrifices one needs to make to align with such a life, which starts with honesty. I had to step out of the comfort of feeling sorry for myself and seek an adventure. When one chooses the adventure, they are no longer in the darkness that is the belly of the whale. That adventure meant facing the monsters in society that were holding me back. It meant accepting that the world can be malevolent, but we all have a choice to become a monster or fight it. The necessary sacrifices meant giving up the temptations of instant gratification and falling to the whims of pleasure seeking available to me at my fingertips, literally. It meant being someone whom my future self would be proud of. So I started to learn about all these amazing men who had come through time and left their lasting legacy in the world. While these men had perished in the physical sense, they were very much alive metaphysically, still influencing men like me through their sacrifices. My sacrifices paled in comparison to theirs as I started understanding the presupposition of the promise with God. I felt more responsible for my life. I began to experience the results of my choices and the freedom I had to influence a life worth living. I started to connect more with God on a deeper level and realized He was facing me the entire time. Only I had turned away from Him. That realization brought a sensation of love that I had never experienced before. And unfortunately, I had been seeking a superficial love through worldly pursuits. I already had more than what I was seeking. I only needed to listen to the voice inside. As I heeded the call and built an ark on the foundation of the fundamental truth, I have been able to survive the floods that we all experience in life by the mercy of Allah. These trials and tribulations are meant to break us down so we can have breakthroughs. When we hear the call, we tend to ignore it because we are often stuck in shame, thinking we are not worthy of what is being asked of us. That is a sign of humility, but God does not leave us hanging when we beckon the call. In Islam, there are constant reminders of this concept. In Surah Ar-Ra'd, Allah reminds us of our role in seeking His blessings. So I will read. This is the 13th Surah of the Quran, verses 11 and 12 of the English translation. For each one, there are successive angels before and behind, protecting them by Allah's command. Indeed, Allah would never change a people's state of favor until they change their own state of faith. And if it is Allah's will to torment a people, it can never be averted, nor can they find a protector other than Him. He is the one who shows you lightning, inspiring you with hope and fear, and produces heavy clouds. The notion that Allah will only change one's state until they change their own state of faith is something I now completely resonate with. Similarly, we are reminded of the worldly pursuits and the eternal abode in Surah Al-An'am, which is the 6th Surah of the Quran, and I will be reading the English translation of the verses 32 to 34. This worldly life is no more than play and amusement, but far better is the eternal home of the hereafter for those mindful of Allah. Will you not then understand? We certainly know that what they say grieves you, O Prophet. It is not your honesty they question. It is Allah's signs that the wrongdoers deny. Indeed, messengers before you were rejected but patiently endured rejection and persecution until our help came to them. And Allah's promise to help is never broken. And you have already received some of the narratives of these messengers. So, to return to the notion of adversity and where one finds faith, especially when we look at the holy month of Ramadan, I've had people ask me why a God who loves you would ask you to endure such hardships, not eating and drinking water all day. In the past, I would also ask myself that too. But as I've grown through my experiences and continue to grow, I now understand that it is precisely why Allah loves us that He prescribed fasting for us. So we can experience the bliss of Ramadan and transcend our carnal desires. And in those moments of adversity, we can turn to him and thank him for the blessings we have been given in this world. The promise has always been there. The choice is ours to fulfill. I hope you enjoyed this exploration. If you did, please subscribe to the channel.